Alright, and now on to the musical analysis portion of the video. Hopefully this goes by quick, I'm not quite sure, but I really wanted to talk about this recurring song that plays throughout the episode, and it is this.
Yeah. Young Benjamin will become an important member of my court. I need the boy to... I need him to live. Please. Okay. The kingdom is favored by your presence once more.
Now, in the background throughout that, there was a piano that was subtly playing, and it plays multiple times throughout the episode. It plays there, and then it plays again here. We'll get to the song that the choir sings in a little bit, but it plays here. And here. And if you guys have no idea what that song is, don't worry, you're not to blame. I'm not really. It is actually the song that plays when it was revealed Glenn was alive underneath the dumpster. It plays during episode 7, Heads Up, last year, and it sounds a little something like this. Now, this is important because this song represents hope. This song represents something greater. Because in the context of the current episode, The Well, it represents Morgan and the kingdom. It represents how Morgan is adapted into this new world, how he has found a new apprentice, how everything is going well, how the kingdom is this thriving community, this really great place. And in the episode of Heads Up last year, it represented that there was hope for Glenn, that he was alive, that, this song is a happy song. But we can't forget about the start of it. The start of it from Heads Up sounded something like this. Now, that song, the start of that song, was actually a direct piano reference to the song that played in episode 3. And that portion of the song represents the complete opposite. Instead of hope, it represents sadness. It represents sorrow. Instead of hope, it is a sad song. Instead of happy, it is sad. Instead of good, it is bad. Because in the context of episode 7, yeah, it plays when Glenn falls off the dumpster, but it plays at an uncertain time of if he's going to live or not is still unclear. In episode 3, it plays at a definite point of unclarity where we don't know if Glenn's alive or dead. And it kind of comes full circle when now currently Glenn has actually wound up dying, and although not the same song played, a similar song played where we get heavy on the strings. There are certain notes that are the same, certain chords that are struck that are the same, and although I'm not going to get into the musical breakdown of it, it does come full circle here where although something good has happened in the case of or although something bad has happened, in the case of Glenn falling off the dumpster, he winds up surviving it. So when the sad song plays, he winds up surviving it and living on. In the context of the current season, although Glenn does die,
Back to it. No exceptions. She is a vampire bat.
on the horizon is something better. On the horizon is the kingdom, the song that has the theme that plays when Glenn lives, the song that has hope. Now on to the choir. So we started out with It Ain't No Use to Sit and Wonder Why, Babe. This syncs up perfectly to Carol sitting. I think this song represents Carol. As I mentioned earlier, this whole episode represents Carol. It Ain't No Use to Sit and Wonder Why. I think this song is, in the context of the episode, talking about Carol moving on from Morgan, talking about how, although Morgan tried, she really didn't want him. And we even see that in this next little clip.
Look out your window and I'll be home. You're the reason I'm traveling on. Don't think twice, it's alright.
We have Morgan moving on to a new apprentice. Meanwhile, Carol is moving on to a new, based off the end of the episode, a new love interest, a new life. Carol is moving on because Morgan has helped her. When they say, "You're the reason I'm traveling on," that is because Carol is actually getting to restart her life. She's getting to start over. She's getting to live a life with Ezekiel in this new house outside of the kingdom that we'll talk about later. But she's getting to move on because Morgan saved her. So I think that's what that's a reference to. I think that also represents Carol perfectly, because she is on the dark side of the road, but she is headed towards the light. She is finding that hope that we just mentioned earlier.
Well, I wish there was something you would do or say to try and make me change my mind and say we never did too much talking anyway.
Now, I think this is kind of hard to tell exactly what this means. Something you could do or say to make me change my mind and stay. This could be referring to the fact that Carol is still uncertain at this point. She doesn't know if she wants to run away. Maybe she wants Morgan to try and stop her. Maybe she wants Morgan to keep her around. Maybe she needs that guiding force, that pushing hand, and she finds it at the end of the episode with Ezekiel, so she definitely moves on at the end here. But at this point, she's still uncertain, but there are other things that are coming later in her life that will help her move on and help her adapt and you know, live life the way it's supposed to be lived.
Don't think twice, it's alright.
Over the head.
I say you treated me unkind.
I think that is a very important line right there. I ain't saying you treated me unkind, because Morgan and Carol have a very complicated relationship, as they make fun of at the end of the episode here. Carol tried to shoot and stab Morgan. Morgan knocked her out. So they have had a very complicated relationship, but that's important because that shows Carol doesn't blame Morgan. She understands why he did it, accepts it, and now right here,
You could have done better, but I don't mind.
even after all that, she still doesn't mind and she still appreciates him. And this end line is perfect for them.
Just how is my precious time?
Because that 100% represents their relationship. Each one wasted the other one's time. I mean, think about it. Carol and Morgan, Morgan wasted Carol's time with the wolf that should have been dead, that Carol had to go hunt down, fight Morgan to eventually kill. And although the wolf wound up actually being a good guy in the end, which meant Carol was in the wrong, still, it was a waste of her time, and she did not need that. Meanwhile, Morgan had his time wasted trying to help Carol, trying to, pass on his philosophy, no killing, to her, and it kind of wasted his time because she really was too far gone, and I think it is Ezekiel who winds up bringing her back. So each one wasted the other one's time, which is why it's absolutely perfect. And I know this isn't music related. The Glenn song plays again through this scene, but I actually want to talk about more what's being said than the song playing, because I find it interesting as well.
I can't show you the way. You gotta find that for yourself. I thought I had. I did. I'm just fumbling through. Sometimes we change our minds.
That is a very important thing, because that is a huge turning point in Morgan's life. This is a great moment of character development. This is Morgan admitting that when he thought he had the way with Eastman, it turns out that it was not true. He thought that he did not have to kill, but as he finds out, as he says, sometimes we have to change our mind. You have to kill occasionally, and that is something he has to accept. And this is a huge turning point in his character, because now he's moving from, this super pacifist into Morgan, into someone who is willing to go to extremes but doesn't want to, which is how you should live. This is exactly how Glenn lived, and although Glenn is dead now, once again, that song of hope is playing through the scene. That song of Glenn's life is playing through the scene, so there is still hope. Morgan has hope. Morgan has luck on his side, really, and that might relate to the rabbit's foot. But that's another thing. This episode represents Carol, but it also represents Morgan's changing, Morgan adapting into what he needs to be. So I've taken up enough of your time with the music. Let's get back into the episode.